Okay, let's get into this. For ages, really, we've pictured early humans using fire, mostly for, cooking food, staying warm, pretty standard stuff.
Right, that's the common image.
But the research you've brought forward, it kind of turns that whole idea on its head. It suggests fire's first big role, its revolutionary purpose, wasn't about comfort. It was defense, pure survival.
That's exactly the core finding we're exploring today. We're doing a deep dive into, well, arguably, the technology that shaped us.
So what's the plan? Where are we going with this?
Three main things, really. First, we'll trace how the technology of controlling fire actually evolved, step by step.
Okay.
Then, what huge problems did it solve? Specifically, those massive survival challenges back in the Paleolithic.
Makes sense. And third?
And finally, the ripple effects. The profound long-term impacts fire had on human society, our bodies, even our culture.
Right, let's start with the tech side. Mastering fire wasn't like flipping a switch, was it? It was a slow burn, you could say.
Definitely. You start with the passive stage. Early ancestors just opportunistically using natural fires, like lightning strikes, maybe volcanic activity.
Just finding it and using it when they could.
Exactly. Then we move into controlled use, maybe around 400,000 years ago. This is a big step.
Who's doing this?
Species like Homo erectus, the famous Beijing man finds are a key example here. They weren't just using fire, they were managing it. In dedicated hearths, fire pits.
And we know this how? From the archaeology.
Yeah, the evidence is quite strong. At sites like Zucudian, you find these incredibly thick layers of ash, sometimes, believe it or not, up to 6 meters deep.
6 meters, wow.
It points to long-term, continuous occupation and, importantly, the ability to keep that fire going. They even figured out ways to preserve embers, maybe using things like mugwort stems, which smolder for a long time.
Okay, so passive use, then controlled use. What's the final stage?
Artificial ignition, actually making fire whenever needed. That seems to come much later, maybe around 50,000 years ago.
And that's where we see tools being used.
Right. Things like Neanderthals using hammer axes, maybe striking pyrite to create sparks. That makes fire truly portable, reliable.
But here's the thing. It wasn't just one group figuring this out, right? You mentioned multiple origins. South Africa 1 million years ago, China 500,000. Why was everyone seemingly racing to master fire? What was the big pressure?
The why. Because not having fire meant facing, well, existential threats. The world back then was dangerous.
Oh, dangerous.
Think megafauna. We're talking predators that make today's lions look small. Saber-toothed cats, obviously, but also the cave lion.
How big was it?
About 25% larger than modern lions. Some males might have weighed over 700 pounds. Imagine that stalking your camp.
700 pounds, right. I can see why you'd want to fire. It's not just the heat, is it?
No, it's multi-layered defense. The physical heat, sure. But also the smoke, the light messing with their night vision, the crackling sound.
And just the innate fear animals have of fire.
Exactly, that deep evolutionary programming. Fire acted like a silent, tireless guard.
And you mentioned Zucudian's ash layers suggesting organization.
Precisely. Those thick layers suggest continuous burning, which likely needed cooperation, maybe even shift work people taking turns to tend the fire through the night, essentially building a wall of light for protection.
Okay, so defense makes sense. But how do we know defense was more important than, say, cooking or warmth initially?
It comes down to energy and risk. Think about taking down a massive animal, like an elephant. That's food for maybe 25 people for over a month.
A huge bounty.
But also a huge magnet for scavengers and other predators. Protecting that kill was critical. And the analysis suggests the energy saved by preserving that massive kill using fire keeping predators away yielded a far higher return than just the extra calories from cooking.
What kind of numbers are we talking?
The estimate is around 16,269 calories per hour sustained, just from effective preservation strategies enabled by fire, protecting the investment, essentially. That was likely the immediate powerful driver.
So the need to defend themselves and their food basically forced early humans into better organization.
You got it. You can't manage a perpetual fire alone or fend off giant predators solo. It demands group cooperation, maybe a division of labor, younger folks hunting, Older members may be managing the crucial fire.
And this cascades into other changes.
Absolutely. This social shift, combined with diet changes, whether from cooking or just better preservation, had huge physiological consequences. Our guts actually shrank.
Shrank.
Yeah, compared to other primates, our digestive tract is only about 62% as large.
Yeah.
Less energy needed for digestion.
Means more energy available for other things, like
Like growing bigger brains. You see this reflected in the fossil record. Beijing man's brain size, for instance, roughly doubled compared to earlier hominins. Fire literally fueled our cognitive evolution.
incredible. And it didn't stop there, right?
Yeah.
Technology.
Fire became a tool for making better tools. Heat treating stone, for example, could improve the success rate of flaking complex tools by maybe 30%.
Makes the stone easier to work.
Exactly. And it allowed for working with other materials too, like bone. Think of the incredibly fine bone needles, just 1.5 millimeters thick, found with Shanadong man. Used for sewing sophisticated clothing, likely. Fire enabled that precision.
So it starts as defense, drives social organization, changes our bodies, boosts our tech.
And eventually it transcends the purely practical. As its use became refined, fire often took on, symbolic meaning. It becomes the hearth, the center of the community, a place for storytelling, knowledge sharing, a symbol of power, transformation, even sanctity in many cultures.
It really underpins so much.
That's the takeaway from this deep dive. Fire's role as a defensive tool seems to be the critical first step, the catalyst. It kicked off this fundamental pattern you see throughout human history. Need leads to innovation, which triggers transformation.
Need, innovation, transformation. Defense was the need.
It certainly looks like the primary initial driving need in this case.
It really makes you think. If that intense existential pressure of sheer survival fundamentally shaped our societies and technologies back then, what are the hidden, maybe inescapable pressures shaping our next big leap, technologically and socially today? Something for you to consider.